Starting the list at number 1, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is widely considered the greatest game on any Nintendo platform, and one of the finest games ever made. The Ultra Hand and Ascend abilities completely reinvent what open-world exploration can feel like, and the sheer scale of the Sky Islands, Surface World, and underground depths gives players hundreds of hours of things to discover. Its Metacritic score places it among the most critically acclaimed releases in gaming history, and it holds up just as powerfully in 2026 as it did on launch day. The predecessor to Tears of the Kingdom, number 2 on this list, is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and it genuinely still stands as a masterpiece years after it launched alongside the original Nintendo Switch. This is the game that reset expectations for open-world design by prioritizing player freedom and environmental physics above all else, letting you approach virtually every challenge in any order you want. For anyone who has not played it before, this is one of the most essential gaming experiences available on any platform in existence. Super Mario Odyssey earns the 3rd spot as Nintendo's most imaginative and joyful 3D platformer, sending Mario through a series of sprawling sandbox worlds, each packed with hundreds of hidden power moons and wildly creative gameplay challenges. The Cappy mechanic, which lets Mario capture and control enemies and objects, opens up possibilities that feel genuinely new in almost every stage. It is one of the most consistently delightful games on Switch and still regularly appears at the top of every must-play list compiled by players and critics alike. At number 4, Mario Kart World is the flagship Nintendo Switch 2 launch title that completely reimagines the kart racing formula with an open-world hub, new mechanics like wall riding and rail grinding, and a roster of 24 racers with characters to unlock beyond. The Knockout Tour Battle Royale mode alone has caused more competitive excitement in living rooms than any Mario Kart game in recent memory. If you own a Switch 2, this is the game that came bundled with most consoles for a reason, and it absolutely delivers on that flagship promise. Donkey Kong Bananza arrives at number 5 as the second major Switch 2 exclusive and arguably the most surprising game of 2025, featuring almost fully destructible environments that fundamentally change how a 3D platformer can be designed. DK and a young Pauline team up on a journey toward the planet's core, and the pairing produces some genuinely heartfelt story moments alongside the spectacular world-smashing gameplay. Multiple outlets placed it in their Game of the Year conversations for 2025, and in 2026, it remains one of the strongest reasons to own a Switch 2. Coming in at number 6, Hollow Knight is the Metroidvania that still defines what the genre can achieve at its highest level, placing you in the beautifully hand-drawn underground kingdom of Hallownest for a journey that rewards patience and mastery above almost everything else. Team Cherry included all 4 major DLC expansions in the Switch version at no extra cost, meaning the current package represents over 40 hours of content for $15. The atmosphere, music, combat, and world design all work together to create something that feels completely singular, even years after its original release. Hades 2 at number 7 officially left early access and arrived as a full Switch 2 release in late 2025, and the response from the community has been nothing short of extraordinary. Building directly on the formula of the original Hades, which itself was one of the most beloved roguelikes ever made, this sequel adds new characters, new biomes, a new protagonist in Melanie, and refined mechanics that make each run feel deeply engaging. The game continuously earns mentions across Reddit and gaming communities as the standout roguelike experience on Switch 2 right now. Number 8 is Metroid Dread, the game that brought the iconic sci-fi action franchise back to its beloved 2D side-scrolling roots after nearly 2 decades away, and delivered one of the most tightly designed games in the series' entire history. The Emmy robots that patrol certain areas and trigger instant game over sequences when they catch you create a specific kind of tension that few games on Switch have managed to replicate. Mercury Steam crafted something genuinely special here, and it remains one of the best-reviewed games on the original Nintendo Switch, with a playtime that respects your time without overstaying its welcome. At number 9, Stardew Valley is the enduring indie masterpiece that millions of players return to year after year. And in 2026, developer Concerned Ape has continued updating the game with new content that keeps the farming, fishing, mining, and relationship-building loop feeling fresh. The Switch version supports local co-op for up to 4 players on separate consoles, making it one of the best shared experiences on the platform despite its relaxed and personal nature. There is genuinely no better value proposition on the entire Nintendo eShop when you consider the hours this game provides at its asking price. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate comes in at number 10 as the most comprehensive fighting game ever assembled, with a roster of more than 80 characters, over 100 stages, and a massive single-player World of Light campaign that can keep you busy for dozens of hours on its own. Every single character feels meaningfully distinct, and the depth of the combat system rewards players who invest time in learning the nuances of movement, spacing, and recovery. Whether you are playing casually with family or competing seriously online, this is still the definitive party game experience on Nintendo Switch. 11 is Animal Crossing: New Horizons, the life simulation phenomenon that defined what many people experience during difficult times and has continued to receive years of free content updates from Nintendo well after its original launch. Designing your island, decorating your home, fishing, bug catching, and building relationships with your quirky neighbors creates an experience that operates entirely at your own pace, with no pressure and no fail states. The Switch version remains one of the best-selling games in Nintendo history and continues to draw in new players who discover it through recommendations every single month. At number 12, Celeste is the precision platformer that pairs some of the most challenging and rewarding movement-based gameplay on Switch with a genuinely thoughtful and emotionally resonant story about mental health, self-acceptance, and perseverance. The tight controls make every successful section feel like a real accomplishment, and the assist mode allows players of any skill level to experience the full story without frustration. It is one of those rare games that succeeds completely on every level it attempts, and it regularly appears on lists of the most important indie games ever released. Number 13 is Fire Emblem Three Houses, the tactical RPG that finally brought the beloved Nintendo strategy franchise to a massive global audience by combining deep turn-based combat with a rich narrative that branches meaningfully depending on which of the 3 schoolhouses you choose to lead. Each of the 3 routes provides a substantially different story experience, with different units, perspectives, and emotional payoffs, meaning the game offers far more replayable content than most RPGs at its price point. It remains the most critically acclaimed Fire Emblem game and one of the strongest entries in Nintendo's RPG library. At number 14, Splatoon 3 is the vibrant ink-based shooter that continues to grow with an active online community and regular content updates from Nintendo well into 2026. The third entry in the series refines the movement mechanics, introduces new weapons and specials, and delivers the best single-player salmon run and story mode in the franchise's history. Its fast-paced team-based gameplay is unlike anything else on Switch, and the colorful presentation makes it one of the most visually distinctive competitive shooters available on any platform. Number 15 is Metroid Prime Remastered, the exceptional restoration of one of the most beloved first-person action-adventure games ever made, brought to Switch with dramatically improved visuals and modernized control options that make the 20-year-old GameCube classic feel genuinely current. Samus's journey through the alien world of Talon 4 remains a masterclass in atmosphere, environmental storytelling, and gameplay pacing that many modern games still struggle to match. Thine Aster is a showcase for how to bring classic games to new hardware with real respect for both the source material and the new audience experiencing it for the first time. Sea of Stars earns the 16th spot as one of the most celebrated RPGs released in years, earning a perfect score from Nintendo Life and widespread praise for its stunning pixel art, deeply engaging turn-based combat with timed button presses, and a world that constantly rewards exploration. Sabotage Studio built something that captures the essence of classic SNES RPGs while introducing enough modern design sensibilities to feel completely fresh. The Switch 2 edition, released this month, includes the full Throes of the Watchmaker expansion, making June 2026 the single best time to experience this critically acclaimed game. At number 17, Pokémon Legends ZA is the most recent mainline Pokémon entry and brings the action RPG style of exploration first pioneered in Legends Arceus to the vibrant urban setting of Lumio City from Pokémon X and Y. The departure from traditional turn-based structure in favor of real-time catching and battling mechanics represents one of the most significant evolutions the series has seen in years. Pokémon fans who felt the series needed a meaningful refresh have found exactly what they were looking for here, and the game has been warmly received by both longtime fans and newcomers. Number 18 is Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Nintendo's first true 3D Kirby adventure, and a game that manages to be simultaneously accessible to the youngest players and genuinely engaging for adults who appreciate creative level design and satisfying progression. The mouthful mode mechanic, which lets Kirby stuff himself into cars, vending machines, and traffic cones to gain unique abilities, generates some of the most inventive and delightful moments in the entire Nintendo Switch library. It is one of those games that feels like pure joy from start to finish, without a single moment that overstays its welcome. At number 19, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade arrived on Switch 2 earlier in 2026 and gave Nintendo players access to the first chapter of Square Enix's ambitious multi-part reimagining of the legendary 1997 RPG, complete with the Yuffie episode that was originally a PS5 exclusive. The combination of real-time action combat and strategic ATB party management creates one of the most exciting battle systems in modern RPG design, and the Midgar setting is rendered with a level of detail and cinematic ambition that pushes the Switch 2 hardware meaningfully. It is an essential experience for both longtime Final Fantasy fans and newcomers to the franchise. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 takes the 20th spot as the pinnacle of Monolith Soft's acclaimed RPG series on Switch, delivering a deeply emotional narrative about the nature of life and conflict, alongside one of the most sophisticated real-time battle systems in the genre. The relationship between the 6 main characters and the overarching world of Ionios builds into something genuinely affecting by the end of its 60-plus hour story, and the optional no-pawn side quests and hero recruitment missions provide dozens of hours of additional engaging content. For anyone who loves deep story-driven RPGs, this is one of the most rewarding games in the entire Switch library. At number 21, Pikmin 4 is Nintendo's most polished and content-rich entry in the beloved strategy-adventure franchise, expanding the experience with a fully realized overworld, night missions that change the gameplay dynamic entirely, and the addition of Achi the dog companion, who becomes central to how you explore and solve puzzles. The difficulty is gentler than previous entries, making it the most accessible Pikmin game for newcomers, while still delivering the creative challenge and puzzle design that longtime fans love. It is a magical and completely singular gaming experience that shows Nintendo operating at the very top of its creative ability. Number 22 is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, still the best-selling Nintendo Switch game of all time, and still one of the most played multiplayer experiences on the original platform, even with Mario Kart World now available on Switch 2. The combination of 48 tracks, including the full Booster Course Pass content, a variety of battle modes, and the incredibly polished feel of the racing itself, makes this the definitive kart racer for Switch 1 owners. If you have an original Switch and have not played this game, it should be the very first title you purchase. At number 23, Mina the Hollower is the fresh June release from Yacht Club Games that has already sold over 500,000 copies in its first week and is dominating both charts and conversations across gaming communities. Drawing inspiration from classic Game Boy action-adventure design and the gothic atmosphere of early Castlevania titles, the game follows Mina across a monster-infested island in a tightly crafted and highly replayable adventure. After Shovel Knight, Yacht Club has delivered another title that critics and players are calling an essential purchase, continuing the studio's remarkable run of quality. Number 24 is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the landmark Switch 2 release of June 2026 that picks up Cloud's journey after escaping Midgar and expands the scope of the Remake trilogy into a massive open-zone adventure with mini-games, side content, and emotionally charged story moments across a beautifully realized world. The fact that Square Enix, number 24 is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the landmark Switch 2 release of June 2026 that picks up Cloud's journey after escaping Midgar and expands the scope of the Remake trilogy into a massive open-zone adventure with mini-games, side content, and emotionally charged story moments across a beautifully realized world. The fact that Square Enix successfully ported a game of this technical scale and visual ambition to Switch 2 in a form that holds up well is genuinely impressive. For fans of the Remake trilogy or anyone who has never experienced this iconic story before, this is an unmissable addition to the Switch 2 library. Closing out the list at number 25, Star Fox is the brand new Switch 2 exclusive that marks the legendary rail shooter franchise's return after a decade away. Reimagining the beloved N64 classic with expanded level design, a completely modernized visual style, and both local and online multiplayer support. Nintendo built this reboot to take advantage of Switch 2 hardware and mouse mode controls, and the result is a cinematic and genuinely exciting space combat experience that feels like a proper return for Fox McCloud. For longtime Nintendo fans who have been waiting years for this franchise to come back, June 2026 was absolutely worth the wait.